because the next case that I wanted to discuss with you is Cash Gernon. So we know that Cash and Carter Gernon were abandoned by their deadbeat father Trevor with a woman called Monica Sherrod. This case also happened down in Texas. It's deeply disturbing. And just like all these other true crime cases that are being talked about online on the YouTubes, what's happening amongst, with creators and amongst creators is also deeply disturbing, because pitiful, fake people pretend that what they're doing is critical thinking. They pretend what they are doing is advocacy. It is not, for the most part. So what do we have here? Well, the recent development, and why I'm talking about this case, is because Heath Harris, who is Darian Brown's attorney, he'd already made a sort of put into print the fact that he didn't believe it was Darian Brown on the 4:58 a.m. baby monitor footage shot at Monica Sherrod's house in the hovel of a makeshift room. She had Carter and Cash sharing, sleeping together in a little baby's crib, whilst paint tins, chemicals and the like were in the room with them. Now, Heath has gone onto the TV and has announced that Darian Brown, in Heath's terminology, is schizophrenic. He fails to state exactly how this bears on the case. Now, it's true that... So the police have charged Darian Brown with the kidnap of Cash. We can see it is indisputable that it is Darian Brown taking Cash Gernon out of the crib and removing him from that room. Okay, this is indisputable. And the next thing that we know is at 6:45, Cash's body was found discarded in the street, and he was murdered. He was slashed up. We don't know how. And the next thing we know, that at about 7 a.m, Darian Brown is again recorded going into this bedroom of Cash and Carter Gernon. He walks over to the crib again, and this time he touches Carter's hair, it looks like, and then he leaves the room. That's what we know. Now, what should I say first? It's true that, well, look, Darian Brown is a creeper. He's a creeper. He's got his tools of the trade on, of his trade, which is a neighbourhood creeper. He's wearing night vision glasses. Someone has pointed that out, and you can actually see this. They are night vision glasses because he's an experienced night stalker. He has tried to abduct a 2-year-old girl from the home where she was staying with her grandfather in the neighbourhood. Monica Sherrod is alleged to have negotiated with the grandfather. Wonder what she offered him, because I don't see her as a decent orator or advocate. But anywho, she apparently talked him out of pressing charges. He had, though, alerted law enforcement about this abduction, so why the police didn't insist on pressing charges is just a whole nother video, isn't it? Let's talk about that later, because that's just one more failure in the long line of failures that adults who are supposed to care for these twins and adults who are law enforcement is just another long line of failures that led to the murder of this child. So Darian Brown is on neighbourhood's the neighborhood security cameras, peering into backyards, breaking into places, smashing security cameras. He's seen carrying what looks like weapons. He has threatened another family. He threatened, I'm going to come back and kill you all. This is being reported to law enforcement. Again, nothing was done. Darian Brown is known to Monica Sherrod and her family, and has been someone that has been invited into her home, has stayed at her home. And Monica herself has said that days before Gernon was abducted and murdered, she had to warn Darian off. She said, we don't want you here. Why did she say this? Well, she was out doing something as bizarrely domestic for this woman, I imagine, as grocery shopping. And whilst she was out and her 4 teenaged children, to 3 different fathers, I believe, were home, Darian Brown has been there, and there's been an incident between Darian Brown and Gernon. I thought when I first saw the footage of Darian Brown going into the room at 4:58, I thought there's some sexual motivation here. So I do wonder if there was a sexual molestation incident. Now, Monica Sherrod hasn't called the cops and reported this as she should have. Now, I believe the reason why Monica looked so fearful, so strung out, so shocked in that first interview with the Daily Mail, not only because she was obviously off her tits on drugs, possibly meth, but this was fear. This was pure fear shining through. Her energy and vibration she was just falling into a chasm of seeing her life as she knew it go. This is what she's afraid of. This isn't to say she didn't have feelings for these boys of some sort, that she didn't feel absolutely shocked and devastated about the violent murder of this child. But what Monica was expressing and everything of her being there was fear that she is exposed. She's been exposed for having these children when she knew it was not legally correct or morally correct, or she's someone that has had involvement throughout her children's life with CPS. She knows the rules. She knows what custody means. She knows that she didn't have any right to these children and that she couldn't care for these children. She couldn't provide them health care. She couldn't take them to a doctor. How would she do that? The questions that would be asked. She knew she was exposed for that, for her drug use, for her useless attitude, for her absolute failure, for her absolute guilt in her part. She knew she was going to be exposed for advocating for Darian Brown. She knew she was going to be exposed for not protecting Cash after the incident with Darian Brown. This is what she was expressing. The pitiful, pathetic, sensationalist YouTubers bringing up the idea as if it's critical thinking. It's not critical thinking. It's bullshit, and you know it. They're bringing up the idea. I mean, okay, sure, there's a chance that maybe Monica constructed this scenario, set Darian up, told him to go in and get the child. He will be on other video recordings other than the baby monitor in the room, because apparently Monica had more things recording in the home, right? Police will have that. They'll show Darian Brown coming through the house and going out. There's no doubt about it in my mind. But people are trying to say that Darian Brown was set up. This is not the case. it's my opinion, but I'm also 100% sure that this will be proven to be true. She's not a very good person. She's a failure. She has failed those twins. She didn't do the right thing. The fear is because she knows this. She knew that she's not going to be able to continue her lifestyle anymore. She was holding on to those children as some sort of leverage with Trevor, her ex-husband, the deadbeat dad that dropped them off there, right? So he's arrived in February and he's fucked off soon after, leaving Monica with his 4-year-old twins because he doesn't want to do anything to be able to look after them properly and raise these children. He doesn't want to have to do what it would take, which might be going to jail because he's got warrants out, or it might have been going to rehab. He had the option of, probably. He just didn't want to do it. So he fucked off to Houston and left these children with someone he knows is a scammer, is a drug abuser, is an absolute nightmare, and with legal problems of her own. So he knew that she wasn't going to be able to provide safe, secure care for these children, but whatever. She'll be right. It'll be all right. I'll just risk it. So these useless people that can't make decisions other than selfish ones, yeah, it's very... so heavy. I can't even... I'm trying really not to talk about what I really feel because I get very upset and I get very tongue-tied. So I'm just trying to stick to a few points. So bringing me around again to Darian Brown and what Heath Harris, his attorney, said, stating that he's schizophrenic. Having schizophrenia, being a person living with schizophrenia, you still have morals. But schizophrenia is something which is characterized by delusion, by hallucinations, and it is... Look, I think that Darian Brown is an absolute type 2 psychopath. He's, as we might term in layperson's wording, a sociopath. He's probably got antisocial personality disorder. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. This is what I see. These types of behaviours certainly seem, like someone who has that makeup, okay? The way that he stalks around the neighbourhood, the threats he makes. He's an absolute lone wolf, okay? And he's been rejected by the only person in family that ever invited him in. So, Cameron could have been speaking the truth, actually, talking about revenge. He could have decided to come for cash. He'd already had a fascination. Maybe if he is someone living with schizophrenia, the thoughts and ideas, the ideas that are in his head about twins, I can see how this would fuck with someone with schizophrenia. And he could have been having some sort of psychosis around the twins, could have been confused and delusional, and he could have returned at 7:03, not really knowing what was the truth, to check if Carter's there, just to see and go, okay, there is only one. Everything's all right now because now there's only one. I've killed the doppelganger. I've taken away the changeling. I've made things right. There is now just this one child as it should be. Who knows, okay? This is all just an opinion. It's not really even an opinion. It's just an idea I'm giving you. What I believe, though, okay, here is my opinion. Darian Brown, 100% without a doubt, was not involved in a conspiracy to abduct Cash and harm Cash with Monica and Cameron, or one or the other, or anyone else. Wasn't set up by Monica because she wanted to harm Trevor. Monica wanted Trevor back. Those twins were her leverage, and she was exploiting those children, pretending to, have them in her care. I mean, she's she's living a disgusting lifestyle, as in my opinion. She's a regular drug user of hard drugs. This is why she's got the cameras in her home, apparently, is for her own security, so that she can watch what's going on when she is tweaking out of her mind. She's probably paranoid about a police raid. She knew she could never involve the authorities. If the children were sick, if anything like this happened, they disappear. She knows her life is over now. She can't just sit around her home taking drugs. Yeah, and that's what she wants to do. That's how she wants to live her life. And now she knows it's over. And now she knows she's exposed. Everyone knows what a useless woman she is, what a failure she is. Okay? This is what she was afraid of. She didn't set Darian up. He has acted of his own volition. Now, I don't know, you don't know what happened between 4:58 a.m. and 6:45, but this is what I put to you. Darian's entered the room. He's ensured that he's taken the twin that he wanted, which is to take cash. He's left the room. He's gone into the part of the suburb where there is a wooded area surrounding the suburb. He's walked through that part of the suburb toward his own home. Oh, is this just a coinky-dink that cash was discarded near Darian Brown's home as you would go from Monica Sherrod's hovel? Maybe the conspiracy theorists who are trying to drum up clicks and views by stating that they are critical thinkers, would say, well, of course that's where they're going to dump his body. No, Monica Sherrod is devastated, just like the next person that this child is dead. And she knows what it means for her. Okay, so Darian Brown, he's gone through the woods. I don't know what has happened in the woods. Has he killed the child on the street or in the woods? I believe that there would have been, even though he was found with his little shorts on and naked, just as we saw Carter in the bedroom, just going to sleep in this little pair of shorts, I believe there would have been some sort of sexual molestation, assault, and then the child has been killed, probably with a knife, and then he's been discarded. Darian has then continued on, in my opinion, to his own home. He's changed his bloodied clothes, at least his pants and maybe his shoes. He's returned to the home of Monica to look at Carter. And there is exact time for this. He had an hour and 45 minutes with, to go through the woods to discard cash, get changed and walk to Monica's. About 800 meters to Monica's. He could have walked back through the woods. He might have gone through the streets. Maybe some door cams will show us. No doubt there is door cam footage, etc. Around the area. This was quite a new part of the subdivision. Houses had just been built. There are probably door cams, Vivant or whatever, that the police will be looking at to see who left little cash there, discarded like trash. And they have stated that no doubt they will be charging with murder, but for now they've just charged with abduction. The police are saying Darian Brown abducted cash, okay? This is indisputable. You can clearly see it is. Anyone arguing this, you're either just, you're being sensationalist, or you've been easily misled. You need your head read, as far as I'm concerned. It's clearly him, and the police know it's him. They have examined the original footage and other footage in the home. Now we must play that waiting game. We can't force it by just making up scenarios. I think as basic as we can be is, Darian would have then, he's taken cash maybe through the woods and he's discarded cash and he's gotten changed and he's gone back to Monica's. I mean, that is not a huge leap, okay? But to start saying that other people are involved and there's these conspiracy theories, Monica can be a bad person and a failure and not be committing this type of conspiracy. She might be a cunning person. Doesn't mean she would commit this type of crime, even though we do see this type of situation end up in murder with that person in her role being the perpetrator. I don't believe it is that in this case, and there is no reason at this time to start going down that track. There is just no logical reason. But we don't know what's going to happen, and this is where we need to be patient. The police are examining all the forensic evidence. They will be conducting an autopsy on Cash that's probably already happened, and they will present their findings. And no doubt they're going to find Darian Brown guilty of murder, but, you know, that's just my opinion. Being found to have mental dis-ease or to be living with a mental illness, I mean, this doesn't mean that he's not going to be guilty, that he's going to get a better ride of it because he'll have to just go to a psych hospital, maybe spend a few years there and be released. No, he'd probably get released into prison. He's actually probably in for a worse time. I don't think Heath Harris is doing a very good job of Darian Brown's defence. Number one, by denying that he's on the recording. And then number two, by pulling a Mark Means and thinking that schizophrenia is any sort of defence. It's very insulting to people who live with schizophrenia. I do have some understanding of this, and I can tell you now, you know, the immorality, the desires, you know, they have to be there in the first place. And I think it would be proven statistically to be true that people with psychosis and the sort of delusions and everything that schizophrenics have to live with, the people suffering or living with these conditions are more at danger themselves. There's more danger to themselves than there is to other people at their hand. Yeah. Let's go into part 3.